Your phone isn't charging. You have now considered 6 explanations: a faulty cable, a dead socket, a firmware conflict, a manufacturing defect from a specific batch, possible sabotage, and, briefly, at 11 p.m., the hypothesis that your phone has developed a specific and personal hatred for this particular wall. The correct explanation: you hadn't pushed the cable in all the way. I'm a behavioral economist. Here's the 700-year-old principle your brain ignores every single day, and why ignoring it is quietly making your decisions worse. You've done this with things that actually mattered. A colleague stops replying as promptly as they used to, and within 48 hours, you've constructed an elaborate internal narrative about office politics, about a conversation that went wrong 3 months ago, about your standing in the team. The simplest explanation: they're busy, or their phone is broken, or they're just tired, never felt satisfying enough. So you assembled something more complex instead. And then you made decisions based on that complex explanation, and at least some of those decisions were wrong, because the explanation was wrong, because you preferred the complicated version to the accurate one. In the 14th century, the English philosopher and Franciscan friar William of Occam wrote something that became one of the most cited principles in the history of science. The version that appears in his own surviving work translates roughly as, "It is pointless to do with more what can be done with fewer." The version most people quote, "Entia non sunt multiplicanda praeter necessitatem," entities must not be multiplied beyond necessity, was actually written by later scholars, not Occam himself. But the principle is his. When 2 explanations both account for the same facts, the one that requires fewer assumptions is almost always more likely to be correct. Occam's razor is a correction to a documented cognitive bias, complexity bias, the well-evidenced tendency to prefer complex explanations over simple ones, even when both fit the evidence equally well. Research has found that people genuinely rate explanations with more causal mechanisms as higher quality, not because those explanations are more accurate, but because complexity feels like sophistication. We associate elaborate explanations with intelligence, which means our brains have a structural incentive to produce them even when they're wrong. B.F. Skinner demonstrated something related in his pigeons. When food was delivered to pigeons at random intervals, many birds developed elaborate repetitive rituals, spinning in circles, nodding, bobbing, because their brains had linked whatever they happened to be doing at the moment food arrived to the reward that followed. The ritual wasn't causing anything, but the brain preferred the complex causal story to the accurate, simpler one. Sometimes food just arrives, and there's no pattern. As Skinner wrote, the bird behaves as if there were a causal relation between its behavior and the reward, even when there is none. Humans, given random or chaotic events, do exactly the same thing. We construct elaborate explanations of hidden forces and secret plots, because randomness and simplicity feel intellectually insufficient. This bias has measurable, expensive consequences in the real world, and the financial industry exploits it with almost embarrassing directness. Products that are genuinely simple, a low-cost index fund, a straightforward term insurance policy, a basic savings account, are routinely passed over in favor of products with more moving parts, more jargon, and more complexity, specifically because complexity signals to buyers that expertise is present and value is being added. Research on investment products found that retail investors systematically choose more complex financial products even when simpler, lower-cost alternatives with demonstrably better long-run returns are available. Partly because simplicity triggers a suspicion that something important is being left out. The financial industry has learned that complexity is a feature of marketing, not just a property of products. The more moving parts a product has, the more indispensable the person selling it feels. The same mechanism explains why conspiracy theories are so durable. They offer an elaborate, internally coherent explanation for chaotic events, which feels more satisfying than the accurate but simple answer that large, complex systems sometimes just fail randomly. It explains why medical patients sometimes insist on rare diagnoses when the common one is correct. And it explains why management consultants have built a very large industry out of adding complexity to problems whose simplest solution would have required no consultant at all. The fix William of Occam offered 700 years ago still holds. Before adding another explanation, another variable, another layer of assumption, ask whether the simpler version fits the same facts. If it does, the burden of proof is on the complex one, not the simple one. Your phone probably just needs pushing in further. Your colleague is probably just busy. And the simplest financial product that meets your need is almost certainly doing more for your future than the complicated one that makes the person selling it feel important.
I'm a behavioral economist, and this channel exists to show you the mechanism every week. If you'd rather see it than fall for it, subscribe.